Hey everyone, I'm Jeremy Powers, and today we're going to be going over the top 10 cyclocross moments from the GCN crew from the 2019 cross season. It was the women's race in St. Nicholas, Belgium, where it went down. The three-time world champion Sanne Cant against the young up-and-coming Dutch rider Aniek van Alphen. Van Alphen's been known to be able to bunny hop the barriers and gain time back on her rivals, but Sanne Cant had not taken a win yet at this point in the season and was being hunted by Van Alphen. As they came into the tricky off-camber section on the last lap, as you can see right here, the three-time world champion slides out and Van Alphen reconnects, takes the lead of the race, then leads into the sand pit up onto the sprint finishing straight. It is the world champion that comes up alongside and takes this emphatic victory away from Van Alphen and denies the young 20-year-old her first win of her young up-and-coming career. It went down in Italy at the Men's European Championships. A very motivated Belgian squad tried to take the European Championships jersey away from Mathieu van der Poel. It went down in the single track, muddy, rutted section. Eli Iserbyt gets out front and then attacks Mathieu van der Poel right here with the look back, gives van der Poel a look back. Yes, Eli Iserbyt gave Mathieu van der Poel a look back. That just doesn't happen. It goes down, van der Poel closes the gap up, and then Michael van Tornhout reconnects. They're going back and forth, opening gaps where Mathieu van der Poel, as you can see here, he has to come through and push Eli Iserbyt out of the way. It was a lot of argy-bargy, big pushes going on in the course. Van der Poel finally able to repay that attack earlier, is able to string together a bunch of sections at the end of the race and take the victory, but shakes his head in disbelief at the finish line, knowing it was one of his hardest days of the 2019 season. Easily one of the most iconic and brutal cyclocross courses on the circuit is the Namur World Cup. This year was no different. Hypothermic conditions made Eli Iserbyt drop out of the race. After that, it was Toon Aerts and Mathieu van der Poel going back and forth like it was a Vander Holyfield in the boxing gym. It was insane. First, Toon Aerts gets the lead, van der Poel comes back. Mechanical for Aerts. Then it's back, Mathieu van der Poel. Looks like he has a flat tire, able to come back. Then finally, in the last ascent, after going back and forth and trading the lead by 10s and 15, 20 seconds back and forth, going all the way to the last lap, Toon Aerts goes down on that final descent before the cobblestones. We've later found out that he broke 3 ribs. Van der Poel comes across the line, puts his hands up in elation, yelling. He was so happy to take such a brutal day out on the cyclocross bike. In the post-race interviews, he's barely able to speak. He's shivering so much. That is cyclocross racing. Another top moment of this year's cross season has to be Toon Aerts' late season sprint finishing form. After breaking his ribs and coming back from that debilitating injury, he's able to stay in the mix, losing just a little bit of that high-end power that he had in the beginning part of the season. He ends up coming into Maldegem, the Wednesday race, directly after the World Championships, and then out-sprinting Corné van Kessel by a centimeter on the finish line. We've got a picture of it here. That was one of the races that we called, and I could not believe my eyes when he came across the finish line. Then, just a couple of weeks ago in Leuven, he's able to do the exact same thing in a dicey finish at the end against Michael van Tornhout and Lars van der Haar. He comes through the final turn onto the pavement, unclips his pedals, as does just about everyone else in the group, as you can see here, and is able to take the last spot on the podium. So we give a tip of our hat in one of the most memorable moments of the season to Toon Aerts. The Kortrijk Urban Cross, a new venue put on by multiple-time world champion Erwin Verwecke, is a completely different venue held in downtown Kortrijk in Belgium. It was in the women's side. It was Lucinda Brand, the Dutch champion, against the newly crowned, and not at that time though, world champion Ceylin Del Carmen Alvarado. They came into the final lap in that last lap duel. We thought Alvarado was the big sprinter on the women's side, but Lucinda Brand came in with that ability to detect, know where to be, all of her experience against the young Alvarado's determination. It wasn't meant to be, with Brand able to continue to evolve as a rider, showing us that she has depth in all of the different disciplines in cycling. It was a beautiful win for that Dutch champion to be able to take. Then on the men's side, we saw an attack like no other. It was a submarine torpedo explosion from Mathieu van der Poel, but not with some bickering from behind from Eli Iserbyt and Michael Van Torenhout. Van Torenhout later said he was upset with Iserbyt for chasing him down when he went head-to-head with Mathieu van der Poel, but it was literally one lethal blow from Van der Poel that we will all remember as one of the feistiest attacks of the season to be able to take this big win at the new Urban Cross in Kortrijk. Zonhoven, Belgium, the infamous Col. Oh man, it went down in a big way in the men's race. A two-up battle. No Mathieu van der Poel, who was away on a training camp. It came down to Toon Aerts and Laurens Sweeck in the last lap in the big sand amphitheater where all the crowds are on each sides. It was Laurens Sweeck who was going down in a rut. Toon Aerts attacks in the last meters before the sand pit. Laurens Sweeck put on the back foot, has to come through the rut, gets jolted, ends up going down in the crowd. Whoosh, just yells. It was the most interesting battle of the entire cyclocross season. Laurens Sweeck unfortunately having to bow to Toon Aerts and that strength, but Toon Aerts able to put Zonhoven on his resume as a race that he's won. He was very excited to be able to take that one, and it was easily one of the best moments of the entire cyclocross season. Wout van Aert able to come back after that horrible crash that happened this year at the Tour de France. Finally, after months of rehabilitation, riding close to the podium in the front, back and forth, putting his name in the mix, a solid ride at the World Championships in Lille, he's finally able to take his first win, a very focused win where he was just awesome on the day, almost zero mistakes, clearly the best rider on the day. On the podium, he was so happy. His family was crying. His fans were out cheering him on. It was beautiful to see, and definitely another top moment of the year. The women's race at the World Cup in Zolder was an absolute scorcher as always. It was the old guard, Marianne Vos and Lucinda Brand against the new up-and-comers, Ceylin Del Carmen Alvarado and Annemarie Worst. On the final lap, the four of them go into it, and it's Marianne Vos on the big steep climb up the backside, going into the big descent, the steep descent. Marianne Vos lays down a brutal attack that dispatches first Worst, then Alvarado not able to match the pace, then Lucinda Brand and Marianne Vos go side by side, but Vos is able to take it, but then Brand sends the Hail Mary and flies past Vos on the descent, out-descending the multiple-time world champion to come into the final half of the circuit, coming up the steep kickers and the run-up, able to distance Vos and take a huge victory for the Dutch champion Lucinda Brand at the World Cup in Zolder. It was one for the history books. The DVV Trophy in Ronse, it went down and the sky opened up in Belgium and made for a disgustingly muddy affair. It was the only race all year long that Mathieu van der Poel did not have the legs to respond to a very motivated Belgian national champion, Toon Aerts. Aerts able to run all those crazy downhill steep descents. The course designed by former world champion Mario de Klerk did not disappoint, and then Toon Aerts finally, all year long, the only rider to be able to beat Mathieu van der Poel head-to-head, was able to punch in the sky like he loves to do and take a very well-deserved victory there in Ronse. The women's race at the World Championships went down to the line with Ceylin Del Carmen Alvarado and the other Dutch rider, Annemarie Worst. They had been going back and forth all season long, and it came down to the World Championships. Alvarado deciding to not race in the under-23s and to jump up to the pros just before the race. That was the right decision, with Alvarado able to come on to the finish line and out-sprint a very motivated Annemarie Worst to take Ceylin Del Carmen Alvarado's first World Championship title. It was a race for the history books, one that Annemarie Worst on the podium could not get her head wrapped around. It shows great sportsmanship. They were able to hold hands and hug it out afterwards, but what a race it was to watch Alvarado take her first World Championship title. Some honorable mentions have to go out to Helen 100 for the women's junior cyclocross series that she put together. Big shout out to Helen Wyman. It was so great to be able to see all those junior women racing head to head each week. Then we got to give a shout out to Magali Rochette, the Canadian national champion, taking her first World Cup win in Iowa. That was really cool to see. Also, Katarina Nash, her nemesis, also friend, able to take the win at the Trek World Cup under very muddy conditions. It was super cool to be able to see her wear that leader's jersey of the World Cup about 3/4 of the way all the way through the season. Then there was heartbreak for Sheeran Van Androoy at the Degum round of the Super Prestige. She comes into the pits, no bike available for Sheeran Van Androoy. Oh, what happened? No pit, no mechanic, couldn't get her bike. She set the fastest lap time of the day. Unfortunately, her mechanics had already retreated to the other pit with her bike. She comes in, no bike. We'll never know what was meant to be. On the men's side, one moment that we didn't get to highlight, but that was super cool, was the cross-up from Tom Pidcock at the GP Sven Nysson ball. Pidcock always showing off that style and his bike handling skills. It was cool to see him throw it up that day. One of the best cross-ups, I have to say, that I saw all year on the cyclocross circuit. So that is a wrap on the top moments of this year's cyclocross season. If you guys think that we missed a moment, or you want to tell us about your favorite race, definitely put that in the comments. We will take that into consideration the next time we do it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Hardcore for that one.